Hello and welcome. We're going to take a look at Find and Replace. This will be the first menu bar item that we're going to be using in this series. Now, the menu bar, as we looked at earlier, will be these things up here. So there's File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Data, Tools, Extension, and Help. Quickly, Help is a nice one right here. You can search the menu for whatever you're needing. So if you're not quite sure where it is, but you know what it's called, use that one. Now, to review the last lesson, if you watched, we did concat and concatenate, and we were attempting to make emails. Most of them worked. There are some, though, that have some whitespace in it. And I added a couple of extra, like whitespace, so that we can look and review, like this one and this one. But other ones that if the first name had a space in it, it'll make this email not a valid email. Same for if the last name has a space, that's going to be there as well. So we're looking to clean these even further. And in this, we'll first do find and replace, and in the next video, we'll do substitute. Now, kind of the difference between the two, there's not much in what you're actually doing. It's a matter of if you need it to happen all the time and update, or if it's something that you're doing regularly, most likely the formula will be a more helpful option. If you just need to do this quickly once or just every so often, using the menu bar items is a quick way to do it one time and have it done. So just depending on your situation, both could be used. I use both in my job. I would just say one and done, I'd use the menu bar items. If it's something that's happening regularly or I need it to be automatic, then make the formulas. First off, I wanted to show a helpful function. It's called isEmail. This will tell if it's a email address or not. So hit tab to review, checks if it's a valid value is a valid email address. So just because it is a value or a true one does not make it an actual email. Again, I don't think there are any emails that are at youremail.com, or these random names and options that I did would be one. If you happen to have one of these emails on the video, sorry about that. These were randomly generated, so I don't believe any of these are real. In that case, isEmail will just say, is this one that could be an email? Does it have any of the characters in it that are not allowed? It'll give you a Boolean character, which essentially means two different options. Generally, it is a true or false. Could be a yes or a no. Could be a Y and an N. It could be something else, email or not email. But it requires only two options. So in this case, true means yes, it is. False means no, it's not. So it is something that would be helpful if you wanted to, say, do a filter on it. You could do this and then filter out, apologies. If you wanted to filter out, all of the trues and just look at the falses. It's a small enough data set that we can just go through and we can see that these falses have spaces in it. Scroll down a bit. Spaces. This one doesn't have a space. It might be this. Yep, so that's just switched to true. I'm just going to do Command Z for undo because we want to work on that. So it looks like there are spaces and the apostrophe. Yep, another apostrophe. So just going to do Command up to get to the top of the data set. And just over here, I'm making notes that we need to remove spaces and then apostrophes. And I put two in there. Special characters like equals or apostrophes, you need to put an apostrophe before it if you want it to show. Otherwise, if you just do one, it'll not show. Same for if you do equal, it thinks that you're trying to make a formula. So doing that apostrophe equal just essentially shows, hey, that's just supposed to be an equal sign. In any case, let's start with the spaces. Now, depending on this, we're going to say that the report should have the employee ID, first name, last name, department, full name, email. So we want all of these things there. One option you could think of is let's remove the spaces. Now, in these, we still have this as a formula, and that is pulling the information from these ones. So say for this one here, we can't just click in and try to remove this space. Why? because the space is actually over here. If we wanted to remove this space, we'd have to do it on the last names. Now, in that case, we would actually want to just remove that, and we can show one that will remove any white space that's not in the middle and more than one, which is trim. But let's just say for this one here, it's not a true email, but the only way at this point, if we're still using the formulas, we'd have to take the space out here, but now the first name doesn't have the space, which it should, and the full name also doesn't have that space, and it should. So this isn't a viable option for us to update the emails. Instead, what we'll have to do in order to work on the emails themselves is we'll have to copy this and then paste values, which you can either right-click, paste special, values only, or you can do Command or Control, and then Shift, then V, which is paste values. What that means is that you're actually pasting that text. So now you can update the emails, and it's not going to update any of these other things. So again, in this case, since we want the first names and last names and full names to be correct, we can't update those. Similarly, as if you use the function, and this is still a function, if you use the find and replace option on a function, it's not going to actually work. So we can preview that here. In order to get to the find and replace, you're going to have to go to Edit, Find and Replace. There is also the hotkeys, which is in Mac is Command Shift H. It's a little different on PC. You can just do Control H. You don't need the Shift. You can also go to Edit and Find and Replace. The other thing you can do if you want, and if you're familiar, is you can do Command F, which is Find, and then push the three little dots, and then get to the Find and Replace. All three of these ways will get to this window here. Now, what you're going to do with Find and Replace is you're going to decide what are you looking for and what do you want to replace it with. The other option to consider is the search. So all sheets would be everything in this entire, which is not what we want. We would want maybe this sheet, depending on what you're doing, we'll actually want specific range. And so then you can choose the range. Now, automatically, it's going to be wherever your cursor is. So let's say that you know you want to do the emails. You can highlight the emails, and then you can do Command Shift H or Control H, find the space, and then you can replace it with whatever you want. So again, if you're wanting to just do the one, you can highlight it first. Otherwise, here you can say what you want or press the select data range, and then this will kind of get smaller, and then you can choose, and you can see that it'll switch the ranges. So, or of course you can type it out. Okay, so that's G. Those are just going to be those. Now we want to find the space, and we want to replace it with, and in this case, it's going to just be nothing, and we just want to remove it. But if you wanted to see, you could do underscore, and then, replace. And it would replace all the spaces with underscore. Replace. You can see that. Now, that's not what we want, so I'm just doing undo, undo. Oh, I have to actually do it here. So undo, Control Z, or Command Z. There we go. And I went too far there. So I'm just going to copy and paste value. There we go. All right, so let's actually do what we want to do. So find the space, replace with nothing. Confirm this is the specific range we want, G, which is the emails. Now, pushing find, it'll go through and actually show you which one it's going to do, and then you can say replace. The fast way, and especially if you have a large data set, you can just push replace all, and it'll give you how many it did, which was 7, and you can see over here now they're all true up to this apostrophe and this apostrophe. So the next thing we need to do is find apostrophe and replace with nothing. So replace all, and it said 2 instances, which is how many we counted. So now all of these emails are valid. Press done, and the emails are done. So there are still some here that we need to work on, and this is the next one that we're going to do. So again, if you did that same thing, you would remove spaces that you would want. So highlight these, go to Data, go to Data Cleanup, Trim Whitespace. Now, Trim Whitespace, same as the function trim, will remove any whitespace at the start, at the end, or if there are two or more, it'll remove any in the middle other than one space. So pressing Trim Whitespace, it's going to do whatever ones that you were selected, and it said selected the 2 columns there. So now we can see over here that the ones that had spaces no longer in that. So that completes it. And again, this one automatically did it because it is the formula. So it's pulling the data. Now, the last thing, and I'll update this one here so we can kind of see. So I'm going to add some more. You cannot do these actually on functions. Why? And we kind of explained it earlier, but if you do that, none of them has white space because there's no white space in this. It's a formula. And so it's back here that has the white space. So you'll have to actually highlight over here in order to update it here. Because again, this is pulling it here, so it can't remove it when it's pulling it from here. You have to go to the source, which is this one. And I'm just going to remove it manually because I just added it manually. So anyway, that's find and replace. We got all our emails looking good. We got all our first and last names and full names looking good. So really, this is all set. The one trade-off, as I was mentioning earlier, is that if you get new data at the bottom, you would have to do this whole thing again and trim the white space and, copy and paste the values here and then go and update those. And so that's where it can get tedious. If you're having to do it every day or it's a report that's just always getting extra, that's where Substitute might be the better option so that you can have the functions and formula that you create do all that work. So we'll take a look at that and how we could trim and substitute these spaces and characters we don't want automatically. See you in the next one.